Today, I have to conquer 3 fears. The first thing that I need to conquer today is this is my first road trip in almost 5 months. What is it? It's like the last day of July, almost the last day of July, and I haven't been on a road trip since February, March, April, May, June, July. Yeah, 5 months. I can't believe after 15 years of it, you can see how discombobulated I am right now. I can't even get myself situated. After 15 years of being on the road, I spent the last 5 months completely grounded, which, don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed the time at home, the time with Lindsay, being with her during the pregnancy. She just entered her 8th month of pregnancy. But today, we drive about 2 hours, 15, 2.5, something like that, all the way up to New Hampshire. What the f*** was it? Oh. That was just something in my trunk that fell over. Anyway, I'm fine. So I got all this stuff with me, right? I got wipes and disinfectant stuff. I got all the food I need for the whole day, so I never need to go to a restaurant or even fast food. I got like a 16-inch sub that I cut up into quarters, individually baggied, and I got trail mix. I'll explain the gig once I'm out there. Once I'm out there and on the open road. What my privileges are, but it's a podcast, so it may not be if anybody's only ever listened and never gone anywhere visually. So I may as well make that. So this is interesting. Just a side note, the 3rd episode of a podcast that I am consulting for and co-hosting. Originally, I wasn't supposed to be co-hosting it. I was just consulting for it for my wife's high school friend's husband, so somebody that I know from a big group dinner once a year or twice a year. You know, I know the guy, but that's it. He had reached out to me, I don't know, at the beginning of the 2020 Black Lives Matter movement, and when all the protests kicked up. And so he's black, and he really has. He said he'd been having so many conversations with his mainly white allies and friends, where they were getting frustrated with trying to have these sorts of difficult conversations with their friends and family who didn't get it, where they were trying to have conversations about race and you know, how things need to be better and improved, but they're struggling to have them. And he realized that there was this phrase he kept finding himself using, which is, well, let's talk about that. And so he decided he wanted to start a podcast called Let's Talk About That. Merge, everybody merge. So the first episode of Let's Talk About That was about crime and poverty. The second was about Confederate monuments. And this one, the 3rd episode, was about white privilege. I'm going to leave a link to the podcast. It's on SoundCloud. If you're just somebody who in general wants to have better, difficult conversations with that crazy uncle or that friend from high school who just doesn't get it, who hasn't gotten on board with the changing times, and you want, we talk you through these issues, and we give you specific arguments, specific questions to ask, specific studies to bring up, specific examples to give that you can use to navigate these conversations and make it more likely that you'll get through to somebody and change hearts and win hearts and change minds and all that. They booked me for this way back before COVID. I was supposed to be doing this big half day where I would give a motivational speech for the campers, and then hang out with them at lunch, go table to table, do some close-up magic, really make it special for these, 11, 12, 13-year-olds. What we ended up doing is given COVID and everything else going on, I can't do all that interaction, right? I can't be near them or within 6 feet or whatever. So I wasn't able to do that aspect of today, but because it's outdoors and it's a camp and everybody can socially distance, I am able to do the motivational speaking portion of it. So what I did is I did a virtual magic show for the camp like 2 weeks ago. Did a virtual magic show for the campers and their families, which was really cool. And today I drove the full 2 hours just so I can do this 45-minute speech. Gotta stay on brand, right? Outdoors, wind, tremendous amount of space. I won't need to wear a mask. Everybody's been really, really, really great here. I feel very safe. It's outdoors. Most of the kids were wearing masks even though they're outdoors. They have virtually no cases here in this part of New Hampshire. It's very rural, and I'm excited. I'm excited to do something for real. Not that virtual is not real. It absolutely is. It is, but there's something about in person, even in a weird socially distanced world, that just feels exciting. I'm excited. My wife is 8 months pregnant with our first. We're having our first baby. Thank you. Thank you. We're having our first in about 6 weeks, which is why we are being extra, extra careful and staying away. So I appreciate you bearing with me. Thank you for that. So I'll tell you what. Oh, you have a question already? Yes.
Do you know what gender it is?
I do. So I'll tell you what we're going to do today. So you need to be more specific in your questions. That was a yes or no question. Did you want to ask what gender it was? That's an excellent question. Anyway, so we'll take show of hands. Who thinks it's a boy? I love that there's so many confident answers to a question that could only have 2 answers. Who thinks it's a girl? Who thinks it doesn't matter? Ah, see, I like a bunch of the same hands for that third one. I'm glad. The sex of the baby is a boy. The gender, of course, is undetermined. Well, I did it. Did the speech on the drive home, totally wiped out. It was like 85 degrees or whatever. It went well. I had low expectations for myself because I haven't done that in so long. And I did, it went well. It's hard to say how it went because, you know, between the distancing and not being able to get up close and interact and being 5 months out of practice and having it be an age group that is not my standard, right? I usually speak to corporate audiences and then colleges and kind of grad schools, but you know, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th grade, you know, it's a young group and a big age range too for a single group. You know, very different talking to 6th graders and 9th graders, right? You know, 10 or 11 years old versus 13, 14 is actually a huge difference in terms of maturity and interest, humor and everything. But I had them laughing a lot, told some stories, did some magic, tried to deliver a message that was worthwhile. I hope they had a good time. I hope they got something from it. Hard to judge myself for my own performance in such unusual circumstances. It's a couple days later, I'm just finishing up this edit and I realized that I didn't really conclude the story. I guess all I have to say is it was a strange experience. I was really hoping, and you saw I was excited for the in-person experience. And while I enjoyed that there were actual live humans in the real world, like I could see them, you know, they were right there, sort of. Like I could see them, but it felt like there was this invisible wall. What was nice about it is that when I would make a joke, they would laugh instantly. When I would, you know, see one of them make a face to something, I could respond to it right away. There wasn't that latency, that delay, that literal delay on like a Zoom call or any live streaming where there's just this little delay between you and them. And it's just enough that our conversations don't really feel like conversations. You know that kind of Zoom conversation you have where it's like I talk and then you talk and then I talk and then you talk, and you can't do anything else because the technology doesn't allow two people to have the real time immediacy give and take that we're so used to. So it was nice, really, really nice, to not have to deal with that like uncanny valley latency issue. Like I see this human on the screen, but it doesn't feel like I'm having a real conversation. It was nice not to have that, but by the same token, it was almost like being there in person but not being able to really interact or be anywhere close to people made it more obvious the weirdness of the situation. It made it less personal. Like it almost feels like it would be more personal to just do it here over the webcam, because then you, like right now, like you feel like you're only sitting 3 or 4 feet away from me. Like I'm speaking right with you. Like this is personal and just for you. And I feel like it felt very broadcasty for me to be so far away from everyone and not have the ability to, get in there and connect. And I'm worried about what the next year or two of our lives, at least here in the States, given our abysmal response to this pandemic, what it's going to look like. So I will continue to be thinking about that. And we'll probably need to roll that into a Thursday Thoughts or a blog or a podcast over the next few weeks. But anyway, thanks for tuning in to this vlog, the first vlog since February, because I've had nowhere else to go. Thanks for tuning into this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button. Subscribe if you're not already, for the podcast, for Thursday Thoughts, for all the other good stuff. And if you've got any thoughts on how we can continue to connect with others in this strange new world, hit me up in the comments, in the discussion. Let me know what's working for you, what's working for your family, what's working for your business, for your organization. All right, having said that, thanks so much for sticking with me. And always remember, our world is a shared experience. Every interaction is meaningful, and every person you meet, even virtually, is important. Maybe especially virtually. We'll see you soon.